and welcome to our lesson. We want to look at something in mathematics, and in our previous lesson, maybe just a reminder that we had already looked at how to calculate profit and percentage profit, which is actually the expression of profit in percentage form. And we went as far as looking at how do we calculate losses and their percentages, that is percentage loss. When we were looking at that, remember, profits were calculated from the difference between the selling price and the cost price. So in this very lesson, we want to go ahead and look at how do we calculate the selling price. We want to see how to calculate the selling price. So when we are calculating the selling price of a given commodity, we ought to know that that very commodity has a cost price already, because it has already been acquired, or it has already been manufactured. So we already have the cost price attached to that particular commodity. So we are looking for the selling price. And when we talk about the selling price, basically what it means is that this is the cost price having been increased by a certain percentage for us to obtain the selling price. So we are saying the selling price is basically the cost price increased by a certain percentage for a profit to be realized. When we are doing this, there are two assumptions, very important assumptions that we need to make. The first and very important assumption is that the cost price is 100%. The cost price is equal to 100%. And the second assumption is that the selling price because we want to realize a profit, this selling price will be equal to 100% plus the percentage to be increased. And all this is in an effort to ensure that actually a profit is realized. And remember, when we are talking about increasing the cost price by a percentage, we have already looked at how to increase quantities by a given percentage in our previous lessons. If we can remember that, just a reminder, there were several steps that were involved when we were trying to increase quantities by a given percentage. And if you can remember, the first step was to get the sum of percentages. That is to say, 100% plus the percentage increase. Very fast. The second step was to express the new or the sum as a fraction or a decimal. And lastly, but not least, we were actually multiplying the fraction by the quantity or the amount. This was in an attempt to increase given quantities or amounts by a given percentage. So I want us to move on and look at an example that will guide us on how to find the selling price. Remember, this is just a build-up of the previous knowledge that we have already learned. And if we do that, we will be actually demystifying some of these mathematical concepts, and we make them so easy. And the first example is a retailer buys some calico materials for $43.60 per roll. A retailer buys some calico materials for $43.60 per roll. He wishes to make a 35% profit. He wishes to make a 35% profit. And the first question that we need to answer is, what will be the selling price? What will be the selling price? That is our first question. And our second question is, if he sells 13 rolls, what profit will he make? What profit will he make? Those are the two salient questions that we are having this afternoon. If you remember the assumptions that we have just made, which are that the cost price, in this case, it is $43.60, is actually 100%. So for us to get the selling price, we need to increase this cost price through that given percentage, which is 35%. And this knowledge of increasing amounts by a given percentage, we have already learned that. So let us look at the solution to this particular problem. Even the steps that we have learned in the previous lessons will come into play when we are dealing with this. So actually what I'm trying to say is that the cost price is equal to 100%. And our selling price will be the increased price that will have a higher percentage, which is 135%. So let us go through the steps. And the step number one for us to increase this particular cost price so that we can get the selling price, we need to find the sum. And the sum is actually 100% plus 35%, giving us 135%. Then our second step, step number two, is for us to express this very percentage in fraction or decimal. Then we move on with it. 135% is actually the same as 135 out of 100. And our last step, step number three, is for us to multiply this fraction by the amount, and in this case the amount is actually the cost price. Multiply by the cost price, which will give us 135 out of 100 multiplied by 43.60 dollars. This, if you do it using a calculator or any method of multiplication and division, we will get 58.86 dollars. And this is actually our selling price. This is our selling price. Or we can say the selling price is $58.86. And this will be the price per roll. This is the price at which this particular retailer is going to sell a single roll. We move on to the second question that wants us to get the profit. If this particular retailer is going to sell 13 rolls, we want to get the total profit. We want to get the total profit. This total profit actually will be the sum of profits per roll. And we need to get the profit for a single roll. The selling price of a roll is $58.86 and the buying price was 43.6. So the difference between the two will give us the profit per roll. So if we take the profit per roll multiplied by the number of rolls, we will end up getting the total profit. And I have said profit per roll is actually the difference between the selling price and the cost price per roll. This should be multiplied by the number of rolls, which is 13. And this will be equal to 58.86 minus 43.60. That difference should be multiplied by the number of rolls. And this will actually give us $15.26 multiplied by the number of rolls. And this will give us a total profit of $198.38. This is the total profit. That is just but one of the examples. Let us look at another example. The second example is whereby a retailer buys some snow globes. A retailer buys some snow globes for $41.80 each. And he wishes to make a 25% profit. This guy is just wishing, because he has not sold these particular snow globes. But his wishes are that he makes a 25% profit. There goes the questions. What will be the selling price per snow globe? That is the first question. And the second question is, if he sells a box of 25 snow globes, what profit? What profit will he make? We are required to answer these two questions. Remember, for us to get the selling price per globe, we are going to assume that the cost price, or the price at which a snow globe is acquired, is actually 100%. So for us to get that selling price, we need to increase, we need to factor in this percentage profit that the retailer is anticipating to make, so that we can get the selling price at which a snow globe should retail at. So our first step is for us to get the sum of the percentages. And in this case, this will be 100%, which is actually assumed to be the cost price, plus the percentage profit, so that we can get the selling price. This will give us 125%. I know by now you are already guessing the second step, because you are already familiar with it. It is actually the one that you are thinking about, which is expressing as a fraction or a decimal, if we so wish. And this will imply that 125% will be equal to 125 out of 100. And our last step is multiplication by the cost price. This will be 125 out of 100 multiplied by our cost price, which is $41.80. When we carry out that multiplication, we will get $52.25. This is the selling price of a single snow globe. The second question was for us to calculate the total profit if this particular retailer is going to sell 25 of them, quite a good number. And we said total profit is equal to profit per item multiplied by the number of items. The number of items. And for us to get the profit per item, we basically take the selling price minus the cost price. Then that difference will be multiplied by the number of items. This time round is 25. This will give us, we have gotten the selling price as 52.25, subtract 41.80, then we multiply the result by 25. and this will give us $261.21. This is the price that this particular retailer is going to make after selling the entire box containing 25 snow globes at a profit of 25% on each. Let us look at one more example on calculation of the selling price and the total profit that is made after selling our commodities at our calculated selling price. This is example number 3. And this example talks about a second-hand car dealer bought a trade-in car for $1,200 and wishes to sell it for 25% profit. The question is, what is the resale? What is the resale price? This is just a trade-in car. You buy it with the intention of selling it when you get the buyer. So we need to get the resale price, which is actually the selling price. Our initial steps will still apply here because we have the cost price or the acquisition price, which is $1,200. In our first step, as usual, we are going to get the sum of the percentages. The sum of the percentages that will give us the selling price. Our second step is for us to express this particular percentage as a fraction or a decimal, and this will give us 125 out of 100. And lastly is for us to carry out multiplication of this fraction and the cost price. $125 out of 100 multiplied by $1,200. The zeros will cancel. And this will actually give us 125 multiplied by 12. We can do it manually here. 2 multiplied by 5, it will give us 10, carry 1. 2 multiplied by 2, this will give us 4, plus 1, it will give us 5. 2 multiplied by 1, it will give us 2. 1 multiplied by 5, it will give us 5. 1 by 2, it is 2. And 1 by 1, it is 1. We proceed with the normal addition in column form. This is 5 plus 5, it gives us 10. We write 0 carry 1. This 1 plus 2 plus 2, it will give us 5. That will be 1. So this is actually giving us $1,500 if this second-hand car dealer has to make a profit of 25%. This person will have to sell that particular car at $1,500. So you can see how we have integrated that knowledge on increasing given amounts or quantities by a given percentage in this particular subtopic, and it has actually helped us to calculate the selling price of items, which is actually assumed to be a bit higher if we have to realize a profit. That is what we have done. The last bit that we want to look at in this particular lesson, we want to look at what we call the discounted price. The discounted price. How do we calculate the discounted price? This is basically an application of percentages. And in my previous lessons, I had told you that if profits or if percentages are increased, we make profits. And sometimes these percentages can also be reduced. It is not always the case that these percentages are increased. And the question would be, if the percentages decrease or they are reduced, what will be the cost effect? And remember, in this case, we have two people on different sides. We have one person endeavoring so much to sell an item, and we have another one trying to buy the same. So if you reduce the price attached to a certain commodity, you will be attracting the customer. It is actually a bait. And it doesn't mean that this particular seller will have to make a loss. That is what we want to look at. Discounted price. This basically means a reduction of the selling price by a given percentage. we have two important words, reduction and the selling price by a given percentage. So as to attract this reduction actually works miracles in the business world. It also grows customer loyalty. And in the same version, we need to understand that this will entail reduction, the knowledge on reduction of quantities and amounts by a given percentage. So the prerequisite knowledge is for us to remember amounts or quantities by a given percentage. By a given percentage. Basically that. This actually had several steps. If you will help me to enumerate them. And before we even enumerate them, there is an assumption that the selling price is 100%, whereas the discounted price will have a lower percentage. So for us to achieve that, we need to go through the first step. And remember, when we were increasing quantities by a certain percentage, we were actually getting the sum. But since we want to apply the knowledge of reducing certain quantities and amounts by a given percentage, we will get the difference. We will get the difference between the selling price and the selling price, which is 100%, and the reduction percentage, that is the discount percentage. Or what we can basically call discount in form of a percentage. That is the first thing that we will do. The second step is for us to express that new percentage that we have, that reduced percentage, in form of a fraction. In form of a fraction. And lastly, that having done, we actually carry out the usual multiplication this time we are not going to multiply by the cost price, but we are going to multiply by the selling price, because it is the selling price that we are reducing by a certain percentage so that we can attract our customer. And to illustrate this, let us just look at several examples. And our first example is a shirt worth $25 is discounted by 15%. The first question is, what is the selling price? And the second question is, how much is the saving? They are asking us what is the selling price, and they also want us to calculate and find out how much is the saving. The saving in this time round, they are talking about the saving on the side of the purchaser, or the person buying this particular shirt that is worth $25 after getting a discount of 15%. It means this particular person is going to buy this particular shirt at a much lower price than 25%. Don't forget that. Because if you carry out that calculation and you discover that after the discount, the shirt is already going at a higher price than $25, then you know that there is something wrong somewhere. And we have already learned how to reduce given amounts by a certain percentage. So this time round, the selling price that they are talking about, the selling price is actually the discounted price. This is basically a new price at which they are going to sell this particular shirt. And for us to get that, we are going to reduce this particular price by 15%. So our usual steps that we have just talked about will come into play. We get the difference between the percentages. This time round, we are assuming that the initial selling price, or the price tag attached to that particular shirt, is 100%. So after bargaining and getting a discount, this second price will be a bit lower. So this will be 100% minus 15%. This will give us 85%. This is the price at which that particular shirt will be sold. And this is basically 85% off the $25. The $25. And our second step, we need to express this percentage in form of a fraction. This will be equal to 85 out of 100. We have already learned how to express percentages as fractions, and as I had told you earlier, there is no need of simplifying this particular fraction. Just work with it the way it is so that you can simplify the answer that you will have. And our third step is for us to multiply. By the given price. And this will be 85 all over 100 multiply by $25. We can simplify this expression by using the highest common factors of 125. 25 into 25 once, 25 into 100 4 times. So this will give us 85 multiplied by $1 divided by 4, which is basically 85 divided by 4. And this will actually give us 4 into 8 2 times, 4 into 5 1, once, that is 4, remainder 1. When we add 0, 4 into 10, that is twice, remainder 2. 4 into 20, it is 5. So the discounted price. Therefore, the discounted price, or the selling price, the actual selling price at which this shirt is going at, is $21.25. As I had told you, discounts are there to attract customers. So if the price tag on the shirt is $25 and you sell the shirt at $21.25, this actually will encourage customers to frequent at your shop so that they can do their purchases. Let us look at another example. We need to look at the second question, before we move on to the second example. The second question is, how much is the saving? How much is the saving? How much are we saving if we were the ones buying that particular shirt? And when we talk about these savings, I want us to understand that we can calculate these savings in 2 ways. Can be calculated in two ways. The first way is basically for us to get the difference between the selling price and the discounted price. The selling price, the shirt has a price tag of $25 and it goes at 21.5. So the difference between them is what will give us the saving. That is one method. The saving will be equal to $25 subtract $21.25. This will actually give us $3.75. That is one way in which we can calculate that. The second way in which we can calculate the savings is actually based on the discount, because what we are saving is the discount. That is the amount of money that we are not going to give to the person selling the shirt. And that means savings will be equal to 15% of the selling price. 15% of the selling price. And the word of, as usual, as we had looked at it earlier, it means multiplication. And this will be the same as we express 15% in form of a fraction, which is 15 out of 100, of the selling price, which is $25. This will actually give us 25 into 25 once, 25 into 100 4 times. It will give us 15 out of 4, which is actually $3.75. It is important to indicate the units so that we know whether you are dealing with currency or just some quantities. Let us now move on and look at another example. This second example is that Samantha. We have a lady called Samantha buys a wetsuit from a sportswear. Or we can call it a sports store. This lady works in the same store. We will see how that will help her if she is buying from her workplace. Its original price is $79.95. If the employees receives a 10% discount, what is the selling price? That is our first question. What is the selling price? And our second question is how much will Samantha save? How much will Samantha save? This lady goes ahead and buys a wetsuit from a sports store, and she works in the same store. And there is a rule in that particular organization that in such a way that if you work in that particular store, you are given a 10% discount. So we want to know how much is she going to spend to buy this particular wetsuit, and in so doing, how much will she have saved after buying that particular store. So we look at the first question for us to calculate This selling price is actually the discounted price. Discounted price after deducting the percentage discount. And we have already gone through these steps that we are just about to apply, that you get the difference in percentages. This time round it will be 100% minus 10%, which is the discount because she works in that particular store, and this will give us 90%. So the discounted price will be at 90% of the selling price, the actual selling price of that particular wetsuit. The second step is for us to express that particular percentage as a fraction. And lastly is for us to multiply this particular fraction by this particular selling price. This one and this one will cancel, and this will give us 9 times 79.95 all over 10. So let us carry out this multiplication manually, because it is good also to try these particular calculations manually. It makes your brain sharp. So this is 79.95. We multiply by 9 first before we divide by 10. Multiplication first. 9 times 5, it will give us 45, if I'm not wrong. Then we carry 4. 9 times 9, it gives us 81, plus 4, that will be 85. We carry 8. 9 times 9, it will give us 81, plus 8, it will be 89. We write 9 and carry 8. 9 times 7, this will give us 54, plus 8, it will give us 62. How many decimal places did we have? 2 of them, 1, 2. That is where we place our decimal place. So this will give us divide by 10, actually giving us 62.96 dollars. This particular value, I've rounded it off to 2 decimal places. 2 decimal places. Let us look at one last example before we can call it a day. That is the third example. A store sells second-hand goods at 40% off the recommended retail price. for a lawnmower valued at $36, what is the selling price? What is the selling price? And also, if we were to buy it at a 40% off the recommended price, then how much do you save? How much do you save? Actually, someone will be wondering, this percentage, 40% off, it is quite a big percentage. What is happening? We are told that this is a store that sells second-hand goods. These are goods that were already bought. They were in use. People were using these goods. But maybe because of one reason or another, they were not able to complete payments and they were repossessed. So we don't expect them to go at the same retail price because they were already in use. That is why the price goes down. So the selling price in this second-hand store will be very less. So it is just like saying the price at the second-hand shop has a 40%, a whopping 40% discount. So that means the selling price will be less than 100. We simply subtract this discount. So that means the selling price will be equal to of the retail price of the recommended retail price. And this will be the same as 60% of our recommended retail price, which is $36. And for us to achieve that, we need to express this as a fraction, as we have done in other examples. This actually will give us we cancel this and this, then we multiply 36 by 6. This will give us 36, 18 plus 3, 21. This 21, this will be 216 divided by 10, giving us 21.6. And our last question is, how much do you save? How much do you save after selling this particular lawnmower at this particular price? This particular saving will be the same as the retail price, recommended retail price, minus the discounted price. This will give us $36 minus $21.6. We carry out subtraction. This will be 10 minus 6, 4. 5 minus 1, 4. This will be $14.4. That is the much you will save. So up to that particular point, I hope we are well conversant with the procedures that are involved when you are trying to calculate the selling price and the discounted price. And you can also make a distinction between the two, because if you reduce this selling price by the percentage discount, you get the discounted price. In our next lesson, we will be looking at a relatively new idea, but it still deals with currency or finances, that is income. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson and you will be able to attend the next one. Thank you. Thank you so much.